One of the fun aspects of taping here live at the Business Showcase, not only do we meet business owners who have been around for a long time, but we get to meet some newcomers, like the gentleman with me now has been in business here locally for a year and a half, and he joined the Talent County Chamber just a couple months ago. So if you can introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. My name is Clarence Sylvia, and my business is the Alternative Board, and I'm located here in Manchester.
Great. So the Alternative Board, what does that really mean? What do you do?
What the Alternative Board does is it helps business owners achieve their business goals.
Okay.
And we do this through peer advisory and individual coaching.
Okay.
So when you become a member of the Alternative Board, what happens is that you join a board where we meet monthly with other business owners of non-competing businesses, where there's some education, but the primary purpose is to present your issues and challenges that you're having. And the other members, who are also business owners.
Wait a minute, do you mean business owners have issues and challenges?
Yeah. But you know what is interesting is a lot of the issues and challenges that one business owner has, the others have had. And so they're able to help each other. So the peer advisory comes by them bringing issues and hearing from the business owners how they've dealt with them and addressed them in the past. And then in between the board meetings, what I do is I meet with the individual business owners, and we'll talk about the issues that they had, the commitments they made to solve the issues, and also identify issues. But really the coaching session is to help them, one, develop a strategic plan. For all my members, we have a strategic plan. We have goals. We have an action plan. And I like to say when I talk to business owners, they get three main things from the Alternative Board. First is, most business owners, they spend all their time working in their business. This is an opportunity when they're at the board and when they're with me to step outside and work on their business. To look at what do I need to do in order to move my business forward. And the other is, when I talk to business owners, they tell me that the number one positive thing for them is that they don't have a boss. And the biggest drawback is they don't have a boss. So what this provides for them is some organization, structure, accountability that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And the other is, it can be very lonely to be a business owner. And this provides an opportunity for them to talk about their business, their problems, their issues.
In a safe place.
In a safe place.
Typically, how many people serve on this Alternative Board?
A board generally is made up of 6 to 8 business owners. You want enough so that you get enough experience from others, but you want too much so that you can't adequately discuss the issues.
How long do meetings tend to be?
The board meeting is anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. We'll do education, and like I said, at the end, they'll discuss their issue for 20 to 30 minutes. And at the end of that, they make a commitment that they're going to take action. And when they come back the next month,
they have to report.
They have to report on it.
What are some of the biggest issues and challenges that you've observed business owners face?
One of the biggest ones is sales are declining. So identifying what are the steps, and it's different for each business, what are the steps they need to do to look to increase their business. The other is employees. Our employees, am I getting enough employees? If I have a difficult employee, how do I deal with that? The other, is capital. What are the sources of capital? How do I go about that? Marketing. Marketing is something, it has changed so much over the time, and with the internet and social media, what's the best way to go about it? So all of those issues are come up.
What was your career path before you became affiliated with this?
My career, I had a career in management leadership. I was in hospital administration. So I was in hospital administration for 27 to 30 years.
Here in Connecticut or elsewhere?
In Connecticut. I was the president of the Hospital of Central Connecticut. And senior vice president at Hartford Healthcare. So I've got the management experience, and I like to say what I'm doing now is what I enjoy doing. I run meetings, I mentor, coach. That's the fun part. And I've got the experience of doing it, and it's what I enjoy doing.
So how many boards do you facilitate right now on an ongoing basis?
Right now, I have 2 boards. I have one in the Manchester area,
Okay.
and I have another board out in the Springfield area,
Okay.
because my territory goes up to Springfield.
And what kinds of industries are represented by the people on the board, just
Right.
off the top of your head?
Yep. The industries are really can go all over the place. What I have is I have retail, I have financial advisors, I have construction, manufacturing,
Right.
I have a structural engineer, lawyers. So it really runs the
A
gamut.
potpourri.
Yep.
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 Great. Well, thanks for being here. We hope you have a great evening here, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
One of the interesting aspects of the economy here in Talon County and our culture here is that we have all these quaint historic downtown areas in a variety of communities. One downtown area that has been transformed in recent years is a place that a lot of us know. We went to UConn, and that's Storrs. And joining me is one of the people who's been heavily involved in the resurrection and transformation of Storrs Center. So if you can introduce yourself to our viewers, please.
Sure. I'm Cynthia Van Zelm. I'm the Executive Director of the Mansfield Downtown Partnership.
Great. It's nice to have you back. You've been on the show quite a bit through the years. And as a UConn grad myself, I remember back in the mid-'70s, downtown Storrs was nothing. There's a movie theater and a record shop and a little gift shop and a Friendly's, and that was about it. And to go there now on Route 195 and just see the total transformation is just remarkable. So I want to thank you for you and the partnership and all involved for the vision and the fortitude that you've had to persevere. How long, am I correct in understanding that the first vision for downtown Storrs was actually in the mid-'70s?
Yes, and it's great to be back, Drew. Thank you for having me. And yeah, there have been discussions in the 70s, the 80s. It really started to get momentum in the late 90s, early 2000s. And with the former mayor, Mike Shore, leading the charge.
Okay.
And working closely with the University of Connecticut administration and putting together the plans and then putting together the partnership board, staff, and then it just, it took a while. It took about 10 years of planning until we broke ground in 2011. But I've been here 14 years now as of March, and it's been a labor of love, and we're really excited. We're almost done at this point.
Really? Wow. What are the phases yet to come?
The last phase, last 2 phases are the condos and townhomes.
Okay.
There's 42 of those,
Okay.
and 29 have been sold. And actually, the first residents moved in this week to the
Okay.
first townhomes, which is really exciting. And then our last phase of mixed-use development, all the apartments were rented, but there's still probably about 6 or 7 spaces to be rented
Okay.
as far as the commercial development.
Right.
We have several new businesses opening this summer, and hopefully by the end of the year, our developer will have most of the leases signed.
Someone looking at it from the outside might think immediately that the housing at Storrs Center would be sort of an extension of dormitories. And I'm sure there's some of that, but can you paint me a picture of the demographics for the I believe some are condos and some are apartments, or
Yeah,
are they all apartments?
All the housing above the businesses are all apartments.
Okay.
So they're market rate apartments.
Okay.
So they're studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom
Okay.
apartments. There are a variety of folks living there. A lot of them are undergraduate students, but there's definitely graduate students. There's some young families, some older folks too that just wanted to downsize and be in an area where they have everything there, really.
Right.
Between the Price Chopper grocery store, the CVS, UConn Health Center, all the restaurants, the daycare center, which
Right.
opened in November,
Okay.
and then our beautiful town square that's owned by
Right.
the town that
Right.
we really are so fortunate to have that to do different events and just have it as a place for people to
Right.
just hang out.
Now, refresh my memory, was the Connecticut Main Street program part of this, or is that a whole separate thing?
We are not a certified
Okay.
Connecticut Main Street program, but we are one of their affiliate members, and
Okay.
we've worked really closely with John Simone and Kim Parsons
Okay.
Whitaker with Connecticut Main Street for many, many years.
Okay.
And we're actually hosting the gala
Oh, okay.
in June.
Sure.
So we're really excited about that.
Yeah. as we start to wrap up, I'm curious. There may be people in their community who see potential in their old historic district, but it gets exhausting just to think of transforming what is into what it could be is overwhelming. What tips might you share with people who have a passion and a thirst to change their communities, but what can they expect it to really take? I mean, are you thinking 15, 20 years as a typical model to actually have that dream realized?
Yeah, I think that is pretty realistic.
Okay.
I mean, a couple of people said to me, "Oh, this will take 10 years," and I said, "Oh, no, it couldn't possibly take that long." And we hit the terrible recession,
Right.
so that didn't help matters. But it's certainly you really need a lot of patience. I think the fact that we had great partners and the public-private partnership really made this work.
Right.
We were very fortunate to get a lot of federal and state money.
Right.
So if you can try to tap into all those different avenues in terms of funding, so that it is a true partnership between the private and public, that would really be to your advantage.
It's sort of like the Yukon Huskies who are playing for the championship tonight, the ladies. It takes a team.
That's right. Absolutely takes a team. Yes.
And
yes.
you had a really good coach, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much,
All right.
Cynthia.
Thank you,
and
Drew.
thank you for being at the expo, and have a great year.
Okay. Thank you very much. You too.
Thanks. We've had some new people on the show tonight and some organizations that we've had on our bigger 30-minute show in the past. And representing one of those organizations, the Adventure Park at Stores, is a gentleman who has a display here. Could you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. Hi, my name is Doug Southworth. I'm the Director of Sales and Client Relations with the Adventure Park.
Great. Well, we had your organization on the show when you first opened. We were part of the grand opening. And if you could paint a picture based on your understanding of the journey, how is it going so far?
The Adventure Park's doing really well, and it's growing in popularity.
Great.
We get lots of kids and families that are coming out to the park.
Okay.
We have two parks in Connecticut. We've
Right.
got the one in Stores, and we've got the one in Bridgeport.
Right.
And in the Bridgeport park is doing well. It's in a much more densely populated area. And Stores is, a newer park.
Sure.
And it's taken a little longer to get it,
Sure.
really up to that same,
Right.
grade. We've been working with Yukon, because Yukon, about 25,000 people right there.
Right.
And so we've been really diligent in
Yep.
trying to find ways to get the students, faculty,
Sure.
groups to come on out.
Sure.
Yep.
I'm curious, here we are taping this interview in early April. We just had snow. Refresh my memory on the seasonal aspect of your park and Stores.
Right. So the Adventure Park kind of follows the golf season. It's the
Okay.
best way to describe it.
Right.
It's like April 1 till Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The park and Stores is going to open on April 18th.
Okay.
The one at Discovery opened last Monday.
Okay.
Yep. And so, we kind of follow the golf season.
Okay. And you recently joined the organization.
I did.
Where did you come from? What was your career path leading into this?
It's kind of interesting. Most of my life I've coached gymnastics, women's gymnastics.
Okay.
Coached for over 30 years.
Really? Wow.
Grew up in the business.
Uh-huh.
My mom owned a gym in Rhode Island, so that's really what I did most of my life. And actually, I had my own gym in Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay.
And while I had my own gym, I was also working in the golf industry, managing a pro shop during the day, coaching gymnastics at night.
Okay. Sure.
I have two small kids.
Uh-huh.
I closed up my gym, and I was kind of just really stay-at-home dad, taking
Okay.
care of my kids,
Yep.
and waiting for them to get old enough where I could actually kind of jump back into the workforce.
Okay.
And so the time was right, and I found this job with the Adventure Park.
Wow. So you live close to the New York border, right?
I do, right.
In Ridgefield?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's quite a commute.
It is a commute.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time at the Bridgeport office because
okay.
Bridgeport fields the calls and emails that
Gotcha.
come from Stores.
Sure.
Stores
That
does
makes
not
sense,
have
'cause
its
you
own
don't
office.
have an office. It's
Correct.
all outdoors.
Right.
Have you actually expanded the Stores park since you opened?
Originally, when the park opened, there were 5 courses,
Yep.
and now there's 7.
Okay.
And there is a plan to expand the park even bigger.
Okay.
One of the things that they're looking into, which we don't have at any of our other 8 adventure parks nationwide, is a zip line only course.
Okay.
Where you just zip line from one tree to another to another
Okay.
to another,
Sure.
and there's no obstacles in the trees for you to climb through.
Right. What have you found about the demographics of people who come? Do they tend to be UConn students and faculty, or do you get many older people with some gray hair like myself actually doing it?
We get all kinds of people. In fact, last year we had a woman who was 93
Oh my goodness!
who climbed. Right.
Wow.
So from 7 to, as
Whatever.
old as you want to be,
Right.
as long as you want to go for it, you can absolutely do it.
Right.
We find that it's great for families. Mom and dad can do it with their kids. It's a wholesome activity. We get a lot of school
Okay.
field trips, scouts.
Sure.
We get summer camps.
Okay.
And we actually pull a fair amount of people that come from Massachusetts,
Okay,
from the
sure.
Springfield and Worcester
That
area.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's really not a bad drive.
Right, and Rhode Island as well.
Wow. Now, did I hear you right that you actually had a gym in Rhode Island? Your mom had a...
My mom had a gym in Rhode Island.
Where in Rhode Island?
In East Providence,
Okay.
Rhode Island.
Sure.
Started out at a YMCA, so
Okay.
I've got pictures. I'm 5 years old, sitting at her feet,
Okay.
and I'm 50 now. So I've
Right.
been around the sport 45
Right.
years, and so yeah, that's where it started. And then I found my way into Danbury.
Wow. So it sounds like some form of athletics have been the thread throughout your life.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I've played almost everything growing up.
Right. And for those viewers who may love sports like you do, you don't have to be a professional athlete to stay in sports. You're a living example of how you can take that passion and redirect it in related ways.
Absolutely, and the adventure park is a great place
Right.
just for movement.
Right.
It's not, it doesn't have to be an athletic thing. I'll give you an example. My son's 13, and he's athletic in his physique,
Right.
but he doesn't play any sports.
Right.
He's on his Xbox too much.
Okay.
However, when he goes to the adventure park, he excels. And in fact, when he goes there with his friends who are athletes,
Yeah.
they watch him and they're amazed at what that he can do.
Okay.
Yet this kid who plays football is afraid of heights, or the basketball star
Okay.
has trouble doing some of the stuff. But
Sure.
here he is. So he has an aptitude in movement,
Right.
but maybe not in athletics
Right.
per se. Yeah.
Now that brings up a question with devices. Do you ask people to mute and turn off their devices while they're in the park, or do they like to take selfies when they're up there in
People
the air?
do, yeah. People take selfies, or they'll use a
Right.
GoPro.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right.
We do find phones on the ground. People will take them out to take a picture,
Right.
and they might drop their phone.
Sure.
It's interesting. I think when people are in the trees, they almost forget about the electronics.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Which is really great. Absolutely.
And in Connecticut here, it's amazing. I ran across last week a UConn study from 2010. They tried to estimate how many trees are in Connecticut. You'll get
Really?
a kick out of this.
Okay.
1.02 billion with a B, trees.
Okay.
We're one of the most heavily forested states in the country.
Right.
And I love the outdoors. We have trails galore here
Right.
in Connecticut. And one of the things that drives me nuts is people who are so glued to their device, they don't appreciate what's in their own backyard.
Right.
So I'm really glad that you have this facility right here in Storrs that we can tap into and enjoy the great outdoors. It's another way to get people out
Absolutely.
into nature and out of the devices.
Absolutely. I agree. 100%.
Great. Well,
Yep.
thanks for being here, and I hope you had a great night tonight.
We did. Thank
Great.
you. All right.
You bet.
Thanks.
With me tonight now is a business owner who is celebrating her 15th anniversary as a business. And she's been on the show a number of times here at the showcase through the years, but also in the studio with a longer 30-minute interview. Could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Julie Polino. I'm the managing partner of Integrated Rehabilitation Services.
So, if you can tell your story, 15 years operating the business, how did it all come to pass? In the beginning.
In the beginning, I worked for a private company, and that private company sold to a large publicly traded company. At the time, I worked for about a year at that publicly large traded company, and I was not as comfortable. I like
Right.
small. I like small business, and nothing against a large corporation, but certainly I felt that my heart was really
For your
drawn towards
personality and your style.
small business. And so I went out on my own in February 2001. I had one other person working with me, and the rest is history.
Was it scary? I mean, how did you make that leap? How did your husband feel about you making the leap?
My husband? I was single at the time, and
Okay.
still am. But
okay. I'm sorry.
I'm just teasing. actually, my mantra, Drew, was fear is a lack of faith.
Yeah.
There was no fear, and I felt like, you know what, if it didn't work out, I'd figure out another way.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, how did you start the business? How did you know how much money to spend, and where did you start? I mean, how did you answer all those preliminary
What happened was
questions?
I was in a situation where someone, a local attorney, said to me, you know, is this your business? And I said no. And he said, why? And I said, I don't really know how to do it. I wouldn't
Right.
know how to do it. And he
Right.
said, oh, this should be your business. You should have your own business. And I said, I like the idea of being entrepreneurial.
Right.
But I was a little timid,
Right.
but I also felt like I had the confidence to do it.
Yep.
And so he introduced me to a banker, and then I went and tried to apply
Okay.
for small business loan. And,
Okay.
I will never forget it as long as I live. I went to the banker on a Friday night because they were giving me a hard time about giving me money, and finally I walked in and said, you know what, either you're going to trust that and give me an opportunity, or I'm
Right.
going to go somewhere else.
Right.
And on the spot, he gave me the loan I was asking for.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really, really special. And then now it's okay. They'll give me a little money once in a while when I ask.
Right. So you've gone from 1 to now 10 different facilities?
Right. When we're opening another one, in the next month, right down the street in South Windsor.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
And from a day-to-day standpoint, what do you really do?
What I do is a lot of administrative right now. I
Yeah.
really do a lot of mentoring of new staff. I do hiring of new staff, and really kind of keep the organization together.
Yep.
We meet on a monthly basis, actually bi-monthly, and we actually try to streamline efforts, so to make the clinical setting for the physical therapist
Okay.
easy, streamlined, and I treat patients when they want to see me, or if a clinician is actually struggling a little bit, because
Okay.
that's my true passion,
Right.
being a physical therapist.
Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
And what are the demographics here in North Central Connecticut for physical therapy? How big a demand is there for PT?
You know, the reality of physical therapy, it's a business that it can change. Sometimes you, as a patient, for example, if you were a patient, you may see us once and never need to see us again. It's
Right.
always generating new business,
Right.
and building new relationships. And our highest referral is by word of mouth. It really, really is, and building relationships with the community.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you very much for being at the showcase.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on 15
Thanks
years.
for having me, as always, Drew.
You bet.
I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Joining me now is another newcomer to the Talon County Chamber and to this business showcase. If you could introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. My name is Margaret Shea. I'm the owner of Shea & Company Real Estate in South Windsor. We're happy to be a new member of the Talon County.
Great. Where did you grow up?
South Windsor all my
Oh
life.
my goodness! Wow.
South
so
Windsor
you know
native.
the landscape of the town
Pretty
really
well.
Wow! Wow. And what was your journey after? Did you graduate from South Windsor High?
Did South Windsor High School all through. I have 6 brothers and sisters, so we were
Oh my
kind of a
goodness.
little staple in the community.
Where are you in the pecking order?
Bottom of the line.
Uh-huh.
And I had a flower shop for years, about 13 years,
Wow.
with my sister. And got into real estate over 20 years ago. And
Okay.
started our own office 3 years ago.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And do you specialize in a certain geography, or you cover primarily South Windsor and surrounding towns?
We do east and west of the river, but east of the river is our hub. And of course, South Windsor and
Sure.
Talon County. And
Sure. And how is the real estate market doing in your observation right now?
actually, since 2014 has been fairly well.
Okay,
Going.
good.
Interest rates are low. Buyers are out there.
Right.
We're seeing prices a little stabilized.
Right.
So it's been. We're really happy. It's been good.
Right. Are there certain kinds of homes that seem most popular?
Still, the first-time buyers are probably moving a little faster than the high-end houses.
Sure.
So, this is a good area for first-time buyers or second
Sure.
step house level. So,
Sure.
yeah.
I'm curious, it's been in the news a lot in Talon County and surrounding areas the past 8 months or so with all the problems with crumbling foundations. Have you run across that with some of the...
Definitely an issue, and it's just starting to come to a head, really.
Right.
In the legislation office, so
Right.
we're still trying to file through some of those things too ourselves. But it'll be an issue. We're hoping that we'll resolve it so we can keep moving forward with the sales.
Right. I mean, I'm just shocked at how prevalent the problem is. I mean, I'm wondering, I don't know if you can answer it, but has this ever happened anywhere else, or is this
I
so
don't,
new?
Yeah, I don't know of anywhere else in the country,
Yeah.
but I'm sure somewhere there's
Yeah.
the same scenario.
Yeah, I mean, what a nightmare
It
for
is
a homeowner.
very scary.
Wow. Are there certain patterns that you're seeing in people's interests? You said the starter homes and the smaller homes. Any other interesting quirks about what people are looking for in homes? Like-
Most people now just want a house they can move right into.
Okay.
They don't want to.
They don't want a
fix-me-uppers
handyman
aren't.
special.
Yeah, if you're a handyman and that's what you're looking to flip a house,
Right,
that's one thing.
right.
But now the younger generation just wants to buy a house, turn the key, and live happily ever after.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And how long does it take these days for a house to actually sell once it goes on the market? What's the range, would you say?
Sale time or list time right now is probably anywhere from 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
It was down in the 33 days for a while, but it's up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And then you're looking at 2 months maybe after that to get it all finished and closed. So
Okay.
it's not too bad of a process.
What about commercial properties?
We do some commercial properties. Yeah, those are moving a little slower.
Right, sure.
There's a lot of them out there, so there's a lot to choose from, which is good. But
Okay.
yeah,
Now, I would imagine commercial properties, the inventory would fluctuate town to town. Some towns are a lot
Exactly.
more industrial and commercial than others.
and it's access point if you're local to the highways or whatever.
Right,
So, yeah.
right.
Little
Are there
different.
certain types of commercial properties that seem to be moving more than others, like warehouse versus manufacturing versus retail? Or
Smaller hometown business type,
Okay.
1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet. Those are still
Okay.
still moving a little faster than big warehouses and things like that.
Right,
Yeah.
sure. I'm curious, you mentioned interest rates are low. We've seen a lot of changes the past few years in the banking industry. The small community banks seem to be disappearing. And there are a lot of bank mergers, and the banks seem to be getting bigger. Have you found any difference over the years in working with mortgage companies and banks in terms of their service and their ability to provide mortgages and have sort of a smooth process?
There's no doubt the hometown banks and the smaller banks cater and service is their biggest thing.
Right.
So we like to work with those banks.
Right.
It's easier than just being a file number for those,
Right.
especially a first-time buyer.
Right.
They need that help to be walked through it. So we're there, but on the
Right.
mortgage end of it, they need that mortgage officer to walk them through it. So we definitely like and hope that they stay around the
Yeah.
smaller banks.
Yep. Now, I'm curious, going back to your childhood, since you've spent virtually your whole life in South Windsor, how has South Windsor changed since you were a child?
It has really changed. When we were young, there was miles and miles of tobacco sheds and
Right.
fields and potato fields and
Right.
a lot of farms.
Yep.
But it's growing in a good pace. Now we have a lot of shopping and Evergreen Walk, and,
Right.
but it still holds that old hometown atmosphere, if you will.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we're happy.
Good. And it seems like a lot of people have chosen South Windsor because of its convenience. Are you finding that most of the people who buy homes in South Windsor and east of the river either work east of the river or in Hartford? Are you seeing many people with long commutes, or is it pretty local?
Yeah, pretty local. People like just to get in the car and do 20 minutes or less.
Right.
So if they have to drive 20 minutes to the highway and then go into Hartford, they're moving a little
Okay.
bit more towards the,
Sure.
close to the highway jump
Sure.
on. Very
Great.
important.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Chamber, and
No,
we
we're
wish
happy
you
to.
great success.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You bet. Well, we've had a great evening here at Meneely's in South Windsor for the 2016 Tolland County Chamber of Commerce Business Showcase. Some of the exhibitors that we've interviewed include Express Verizon, Mansfield Downtown Partnership at Storrs Center, Rockville Public Library, Shea & Company Real Estate, the Adventure Park at Storrs, the Alternative Board, and a bunch of others. So we thank you very much for watching the show. We'll see you next week. And please don't forget to visit our website, TollandCountyEconomy.com. That's TollandCountyEconomy.com. Thanks for tuning in.